Thank you, everyone, for joining me here tonight. I'm Erlene Tilton, and it's always fun to be able to share a little bit of information with you tonight. So we're going to have some fun, and we're going to have some interaction here in a little bit, and hopefully we'll learn some fun stuff that you can do for fall. So I don't particularly love fall for the weather getting cold, but I do love a lot of the seasons and all the things that fall brings and winter brings. It's a great time of year. And so it's a great time of year to start enjoying some different foods, some fall foods, and prepare for some of the holidays coming up. And we have to understand that that's also a time when I always say sugar goes up, immunity goes down, exercise goes down, most people drinking water goes down, and what goes up? Sickness. So we've got to understand that we've got to get in, if we want to get into a great fall and winter, we want to really think about keeping the sugar down and actually upping our water, upping our exercise, upping our healthy eating so that we can keep our immune system high. So first of all, Gwen taught the class last week really good on keeping physically active. That was so good, Gwen. Thank you so much. That was an awesome class. If you didn't see it, make sure and go back and look at that because we learned a lot of great tips from that.
Oh, thank you.
We want to keep our exercise going, keeping our water intake, keeping our healthy foods on. So it's interesting in this last couple of years, hardly anybody's talking about immunity. They're talking about masks and vax and social distancing and all this other stuff, but nobody's talking about immunity. And that's too bad because if we really look at the scientists, the medical scientists that are speaking out, they're saying that's where it all is. You've got to work on building your immune system. And this is what's really going to keep us from being in a state of fear and to really be prepared for anything that comes. We can just work on building our immune system. It is our body's defense system. And we have those soldiers that are working hard to help us, but we have to help them out. And so when we start into this holiday season in October is when it really starts because, you know, they've been selling Halloween candy for 2 months now, and people are going through bags and bags before Halloween even gets here. And then people are so high on sugar, and then it just goes into all the other holidays and it just escalates. So this really gives your immune system a nosedive. And so I'm going to talk about what we can do to really support good immunity with our essential oils. But before I go through this, I wanted to bring back the story back in England when the bubonic plague was there, 1500s, years ago, and all these people were dying. And yet there were these robbers going through the communities and robbing the dying and dead. And so when they came to trial to give leniency, the judge asked them, can you just share your secret? You've gone through all of these places. You've survived through the dying and the dead. How did you do it? And what did they say? They had been building their immune system with clove and rosemary and some of these other spices. And this was what helped them to survive all of the things that they were doing. So they took note on that. And over the years, you will notice, especially during Christmas, the English have come up with this amazing hot cider. They call it wassail. We call it hot cider, whatever we want to call it. What does that have in it? Well, it has the apple juice and the orange juice. It has cinnamon and clove. Do you think just by chance they're using those cinnamon and clove for flavoring? Or are they using this because in the wintertime, this is what builds immunity? Interesting, huh? So I started thinking today as I was preparing, and I started to think, most people have never really thought about this, but throughout the world, we have a lot of different cultures, and all of these different cultures have specific seasons and spices they use traditionally, right? So let's maybe talk about it. If you want to unmute yourself, I just want people to just kind of shout out some of these things. So go ahead and unmute yourself. If you know any of these questions, just shout it out. Don't wait for somebody else to answer. I just want you to shout it out, okay? So in thinking of Asian countries, what are some of their main spices that are good for immunity and digestion? Anybody want to just shout it out?
Turmeric.
Ginger.
Ginger. Good. All right. How about South America?
Cumin.
Cumin.
Oregano.
Oregano. Coriander. What else? Any others you can think of?
Black pepper.
Black pepper. Pink pepper. How about in Guatemala? What's their main one? Good for digestion.
Cardamom.
Yes. Okay, Africa. Anybody know any of them? Well, we know curry's popular, but what does curry have in it? Turmeric, black pepper. Okay. So how about India?
Turmeric.
What's that? Interesting. Well, interestingly enough, when I looked at what the main herbs or spices from India, it had more than any others. And if you stop and think about Columbus, when he wanted to get to the Indies another way, the trade routes to India, what was India so known for back then? Spices. And it named all the indigenous spices that came from India. And I'm going, did they all come from there? They had a lot of spices in India, and especially the turmeric, the black pepper, cinnamon, cardamom, cumin, ginger, licorice. I mean, the list just kept going on and on and on. And so it's kind of interesting as you look at these spices. Really today, these are many of our oils, and they're really good for not only good digestion, but for immunity as well. And so it's really fun to actually start creating foods that have our essential oils in them. Now, a lot of people will say, I didn't know. In fact, I taught a class last night. This was a class in person, and I took a couple of things for people to taste. And the comment that I got from two people there, many of the other people were already in doTERRA, but they said, I've used essential oils for years, but you've definitely opened my eyes to how you can use essential oils. I had no idea you could use them in cleaning products. I had no idea that you could use them in foods. And they were just flabbergasted by the taste and how good they are for you. And I thought, why haven't we been doing this all along? So learning how to add essential oils into our food is really fun. So I'm going to start by sharing a few different recipes that I make, especially during this time of year. But also we're going to talk about what my recommendation is for people when they eat. Everything that goes in this mouth of ours, whether it's food or drink or supplements or whatever it is, should do three things: nourish, cleanse, and support. Okay, it should do one or the other. Okay, nourish, cleanse, or support. And so when we talk about our essential oils, they can kind of help us in those categories as well. And our supplements too. We have our supplements. You can look at our supplement line, and we have those that nourish, we have those that cleanse, and that support. And when I say support, I'm meaning kind of a target support, like some of them may be for inflammation, some may be for digestion, some may be for energy. So that's what everything that goes in your mouth should nourish, cleanse, and support. So if you are eating things or drinking things that don't do those are the things you need to discard, and you need to look at why maybe those aren't. If they're full of sugar, full of chemicals, full of toxins, then we need to weed them out, because those are what pack on the pounds, and they slow down your metabolism, and they decrease your immune system and digestion. So if we want to do the very best in this way, this is why it's really important to start with good, wholesome foods to begin with, and then add our essential oils. So let's talk about, first of all, drinks. Now, during the fall, one of my favorite things to do is teas. And I do a lot of what I call teas, but they are just essential oils. Or you can add essential oils to an already tea that you're making. But one of my favorite one is kind of a chai tea, but it's immunity tea. And this looks like milk, I know, because I've added a little bit of coconut milk. But I like warm teas. And so heat your water, put a couple of tablespoons of coconut milk in there, which is what this is. And then I'll tell you what I add that I love that makes a really good chai tea. So first of all, 2 drops of cinnamon. And some people say, oh, I got the 3 drops. I'm going, it's not going to hurt you. It's going to be yummy. 2 drops of ginger. Good. 2 drops of turmeric. And 2 drops of black pepper. And then we're going to do, oops, I forgot my wild orange in. That's okay. We have a lot of other citrus oils here. So tangerine, I brought out all the citrus oils, kumquat, red mandarin, clementine. We've got a lot of citrus oils here. So I will do tangerine this time. Okay. This is a wonderful immunity tea. So you can enjoy this just warm. Actually, I've done it cold in the summertime. So warm or cold, it's really tasty. Oh, I'm sorry.
How many drops of citrus do you use?
I'm sorry.
How many drops of the citrus do you use?
2 of everyone, 2 of all of them. Yep. But I forgot to add the stevia. Yes, I like about 4 or 5 drops of stevia. So that just sweetens it a tiny bit. So yummy, yummy. This is just a really good, great tea to start or end the day. And you'll just love it, how warming it is. But I've had a lot of people say, wow, I don't have to make my herbal teas. You know, they're choosing this over coffee or other tea or other drinks. And it's just really yummy. Like it says, it kind of looks like milk, but it really is our chai tea or immunity tea. And you got to try it because I think you'll like it. So you can do a lot of other drinks as well. One of the other drinks that I enjoy doing, and I didn't make it up for tonight, but I know that in the summertime, I'm always making smoothies to start my day. That's just the way I start my day. And I thought, what am I going to do come fall? Because it's just too cold to make a smoothie. So what do? So I started making this drink, and it's very similar to this, but I actually put the doTERRA protein in the bottom, about a rounded tablespoon, or maybe not the full scoop. a teaspoon of the greens powder, and then you can add either cacao or about a teaspoon of cacao or carob, or even like a fruit mix. You already have it in the Terra greens, but if you want more antioxidants, you can add that. And then add your hot water and a little bit of milk there. And usually I will add the cinnamon, the ginger, and the wild orange or tangerine. That is just really great. And then I feel like I'm still getting my smoothie kind of thing in the morning. It's got my protein, it's got my greens, it's got another little bit of flavor, and it's got my oils in it. And you can add other things if you want, but it just makes a really good plate replacement of your smoothie. You're still getting those protein and greens, and you could even add your fiber if you wanted to in there, but just stir it up in your warm water. And then I can go about my morning like I normally would with a smoothie, but I didn't have a smoothie. I had a warming mug, which is what I call it. So it just really is a nice replacement. So think of that, okay? So there's lots of oils that you can add in your drinks. And like I said, the black pepper and the turmeric, always use those together. The ginger, wild orange, or any type of citrus, and your cinnamon. One note about cinnamon that you may not know. When you go to the store to buy cinnamon, what are you really buying? Does anybody know? Unmute yourself and tell me.
Cassia.
That's right. Right here. And it's got some immune boosting properties. It is a very close cousin to cinnamon. But if you don't know the difference, I encourage you to open the bottles and smell them together, because they are quite different. Now, I know I've told some of you this story before, but when I was a child, I asked my mother, why does cinnamon toast taste so different than Red Hots? She didn't have an answer. I didn't have an answer until I learned about essential oils. And it's because what we normally buy in the store is cassia. And real cinnamon is really what I prefer. I love the taste of real cinnamon. And growing up, I never liked things like, well, I kind of did like cinnamon toast, but like an apple, cinnamon oatmeal, raisin cookie, or I just never liked any of that. To me, I'm more drawn to the real cinnamon, not the cassia. But they use a lot of the cassia in cooking because it seems to be more sustainable as far as flavor. I just always prefer the real cinnamon. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. So let's talk about warming foods. Now, I love to do a lot of soups during the wintertime or fall. And I think a lot of people love to do soups. So I have one soup. I just made this. This is, I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of green. So it's an asparagus immunity soup. So what I did was I heated my pot with 1 quart of any type of broth. It could be chicken broth or vegetable broth, whatever you like. And then I do a whole pound of asparagus, 2 stalks of celery, 6 cloves of garlic, 1 whole onion. Just simmer it in there until it gets tender. And then basically you're going to throw it in the blender with cilantro, about a cup of cilantro, a half a can of coconut milk. And then we add the oils, and there's a bunch of immunity oils in there. So I know it has black pepper and ginger and turmeric and cardamom and I think coriander. So a lot of great oils for soups. So let me just share some of the great immunity oils for soups. We've got coriander, basil, oregano, thyme, black and pink pepper, both, cumin, and cardamom. Now, if you're saying cumin, does doTERRA have cumin? They had it in one of the summer sensational kits or whatever a few years ago. And I'm so sorry if you did not stack up on this, because I love cumin essential oil. I just love this. And I actually had a friend, oh, Ruth Ann, you're on here. Oh my gosh. She said, I don't ever use this cumin. And I was so happy to get a hold of it. So I got 2 bottles from her. Thank you, Ruth Ann, because I use mine all the time. It is so awesome in guacamole and soups and all these kinds of foods. So I do love adding it to a lot of foods. So these are our immunity oils that we want to add to soups. So another one is my butternut squash soup. This butternut squash soup, oh my gosh, it is to die for. I just love it. Whole butternut squash, you just cut it up and again, put it kind of like the asparagus soup is, you got the celery and the onions and garlic and blend it in the blender in much the same way. So it has 3 drops of basil, 1 drop of thyme, and 1 drop of black pepper. And let me tell you, that is so good. And a 1/2 cup of coconut milk. So the soups are very, very similar. So really good as far as soups. We've got a lot of great soups that you can make. And if you're going to use oregano, which is really flavorful, even just sticking the toothpick in there and then stirring it into your soup is enough oregano. It's really strong. I have found that my favorite salad dressing, I just make it in my blender and I put 1 drop of thyme and the rest of it is a lemon. I put about 10 drops of lemon, I think. 1 drop of thyme and 10 drops of lemon. Very, very good. Most people don't know how good thyme is for immunity. Very, very good. I just love the flavor and the wonderful benefits that it provides. So last but not least, we're going to talk about some wonderful desserts and holiday foods. And these are things that you can actually give as gifts at during Thanksgiving, during Christmas, wherever you want to. Gifts are great, even at Thanksgiving time. So number 1 is, I have actually a couple of things here. This is my almond butter fudge. And so I cut them in squares, and it's just basically almond butter and honey, the doTERRA protein. It's got some seeds, chia seeds, hemp, pumpkin seeds. Stir it together, but I always add the wild orange and the ginger. A drop of ginger is so yummy. And I actually like to add a drop or 2 of cinnamon as well. Yummy, yummy fudge. You will never miss the chocolate or whatever fudge. These are really great year round. I really love these. And these are called immunity bites. And they're very tasty as well. I love these because they have the almond butter or any type of butter. Actually, I go for the almond butter or the sunflower butter over peanut butter because peanuts is a very high allergen. And why is it? Because peanuts are grown underground. There's a lot of molds in peanuts. And so even if you buy organic, it's not a very good food. So I like to use other nut butters, especially the raw almond butter. I get that from Trader Joe's or online. Anyway, the immunity bites have the coconut, the fine shredded coconut that's not sweetened. And then it has a few nuts and seeds, but I like to put the dried blueberries. It gives a very nice crunch to it. You can add other things if you wanted to, and then roll it in more coconut. But to the immunity bites, I add cinnamon. You can add ginger, you can add cloves, you can add what you want, but I do like the cinnamon and ginger in there. So that makes it really tasty as well. Okay, one of the other fun things I love making is my pumpkin cream roll. And this is a favorite of our families for many years. and I actually demonstrated it last year, but it's a fun thing to do. Now, over the years, I've had to go grain-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, and I've kind of made the steps along the way. So I really did it dairy-free and sugar-free for years, but I've gotten to the point to where now I do it grain-free. So this is actually with almond flour, and it's just almond flour. It's got eggs. I even did it sugar-free or table sugar-free. So I do use the monk fruit sweetening. You can use honey as well. And then the cream cheese is actually the coconut cream cheese. It's the Daiya brand, D-A-I-Y-A. If you don't see it in a health food store, ask for it, and they usually will order it for you. So it's got pecans as well. So you basically bake it, you take it out of the oven, you turn it over, and you roll it up with the towel. Then you make your cream cheese kind of filling, wait till it's cool, between 5 and 10 minutes, spread it over, roll it back up, and then slice it. So fun. People love it. They'll never know it's gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free. So it's just really a fun thing to be able to share with other people. Now, one of my other fun things that I love to make is called Trio. So Trio is something my sister actually came up with. She, we dovetail on each other's recipes. So this was my original recipe for caramel corn, and she created it with what she called Trio. And I took her recipe and did cinnamon Trio. So we kind of been working back and forth here. So it's 3 nuts, 3 fruits, and 3 seeds. So you can use any nuts. Tonight I used pecans, walnuts, and macadamias, but many times I've used almonds and cashews and whatever you want. So 3 nuts, 3 seeds. I always do the pumpkin, sesame, and sunflower seeds. And then 3 dried fruits. In this one, I use goji berries, dried blueberries, and dried mangoes. And then you just cook your honey, and it has a little bit of butter, salt, and vanilla in it. And then you add your cinnamon right at the end, right before you pour it over, and then mix it. So this is meant to be more of a break apart. So it just kind of breaks. Well, I put it in this bowl, so it's coming out in one piece, but you kind of just can break it apart a little bit at a time. And so yummy to eat. It just breaks apart, and it's really kind of fun, kind of like a caramel corn. You just kind of break it apart. So this is a fun thing that definitely it's great to have at parties, and people can just take a little piece, like I said, break it up ahead of time, or you can give it to friends. So wonderful with cinnamon. And again, it's all about immunity, and I love that. So last but not least is my pumpkin pie. Now, this pumpkin pie is different than a lot of pumpkin pies because number one, it is grain and gluten-free. I use the almond flour for the crust. I use it straight across to what I do other flours. And I found it works almost as well. I love the texture better. It's not tough, or it's not, I know over the years I've kind of worked with pie crusts, and sometimes they can be really tough if they're wheat or made with some type of gluten-free flour. So I love the fact that this is just yummy tasting, and it has a really good texture. So this time my pie did crack, and it was because I used the monk fruit sweetening, and that's a dry measurement instead of my honey. So next time add a little bit of moisture so that it won't crack. So make sure there's enough moisture. All right, so the spices in here, I do find that if I don't add a little bit of cinnamon and I add the nutmeg, then it's lighter. It doesn't look like a pumpkin pie. So you need a tiny bit. So I do add half a teaspoon cinnamon and half teaspoon nutmeg along with the half teaspoon salt, a whole can of coconut milk, but then I add the essential oils. And what oils do we add? Those famous 3 oils that we're using in a lot of recipes during the winter: the clove, cinnamon, and ginger. And I think it's like 5 of the cinnamon, 2 each of the ginger and clove. And actually I made this for, I do a radio broadcast once a month. And I always try to take tasters into the radio show host. And I let him taste my pumpkin pie. He was blown away. So I love to blow away people, you know, especially when they're not expecting it. And he's one that doesn't really even care for pumpkin pies, but he was so amazed by how wonderful it tasted. So it's fun to be able to feel like you're doing something good. This pumpkin pie is something that I would feel is healthy enough to eat for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or anytime during the day, because it does have pumpkin. It's got your coconut milk, which is a healthy fat, the almond flour crust. Did I say the monk fruit? I put the monk fruit in there. Okay. And then you've got your seasonings in it, really good for you. And any of these foods that I've shared with you today, you're not missing out on flavor. You're not missing out on anything. As I've talked to a lot of people over the last few months, that is the biggest reason they don't want to eat healthy foods, is the fear of missing out. You're not going to be missing out if you really start with your whole foods and start learning to cook with your nut flours. Coconut flour is another good one. Start eliminating a lot of the dairy, the sugars, the grains, and really look more into your healthy fats that support your brain, support your metabolism, gives you the calories that your body actually needs, but not too many that it's going to work against you.
Arlene,
Yes.
have you started using the new vanilla in any of your recipes?
I have not, and I'm really anxious to try it. Thank you for bringing that up. I should have tried it in, what did I do with the vanilla? The trio I did with the vanilla and my pumpkin cream roll. I have tried it on some of my drinks, and I do love a drop in there. That makes it taste really awesome. So I have that, but I haven't as far as baking. Tell us your experience, Kathy.
I've started using it in everything that I add, like, you know, your fudge and things like that. I usually add some vanilla in that. My smoothies, I like some vanilla, and the doTERRA vanilla is fabulous. And you only need 1 drop.
1 drop. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Sorry, I wanted to ask you if in the pumpkin pie, do you use the pumpkin pie filling from a can, or do you make your own?
Either way, today I just did 1 can. It's not the filling, it's just the pumpkin. So I don't ever use any fillings. I just use the pumpkin. So I used 1 full can of pumpkin, 1 full can of coconut milk, and I did a half a cup of, you can either do honey. I used the monk fruit stevia sweetener, and then 2 eggs, and then my seasonings. So half teaspoon each of salt, cinnamon, and nutmeg, and then 5 drops cinnamon, 2 drops ginger, 2 drops clove. That's it. Healthy enough for breakfast. Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Great. At Thanksgiving time, when I'm doing a lot, I like to get my pumpkin and just, I prefer the pumpkin, but when I'm just doing 1 pie, yeah, and I'm not going to be doing a lot of other pies or anything for another month. So yeah. Good question.
I have an interesting question
Okay.
that's a little different from the cooking. I take the dual capsule turmeric every day,
Mhm.
but I know when you take turmeric, you're supposed to have black pepper. Does
Mhm.
that capsule have black pepper in it?
You know, I thought that first when I started taking it. And then I was told, because of the combination with the turmeric and the curcumin, that it is readily absorbed and it
Okay.
doesn't need that black pepper in it. However, if we are using these in different foods that we're making, then always add them together.
Okay. I just wanted to check. Thank you.
Kathy, do you have a better answer on that? Or
I know I was just told that when you combine the chemistry, which is the oil, with the nutrition, then your body can absorb it. And that's why it's dual capsule.
okay.
That's what I heard too.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you for answering that question.
Hey, Erlene, one really, I wish Jackie was on tonight. I don't know, maybe she is, but I didn't see her. But when you're talking about cumin, a lot of times people don't like the smell of cumin. But she said that had really, really helped her memory, just smelling that cumin. So look at the health benefits and the emotional ones that all these oils do for us. And we take them internally in our food. It's absolutely fabulous.
I feel like every time I add my oils to my food, I'm doing my body a favor. We have so many wonderful benefits, and just one drop of something can go such a long ways. So just looking at many of the oils that I've talked about and all the benefits that they have, it's amazing. So this is just another way to support your digestion and your immunity every day. And it's great. We want to eat good, we want to take our supplements, but this is just an added benefit to be able to add our essential oils to our foods. And it makes us young.
I am so excited to get your soup recipes. Are you going to put all these recipes on the Real Life Healing website?
How about I do them maybe one at a time here and there? And
okay.
So that we can go from there and get some ideas.
I have a question about the cream cheese that you use. You said it was Daiya?
Daiya is Daiya.
Daiya. Because I found some that just says plant-based cream cheese that I've been using. Is that okay?
Sure, as long as you taste it. I know that I've seen different cream cheeses over the years. Some of them are out of sight as far as price. And this one is definitely more pricey, but it's the best tasting, the cleanest, and the best price that I've seen. I've seen them out of almonds. I've seen them out of other things, maybe even cashew. I've seen it out of tofu. That was the first one I was introduced with, but it's not very clean. It's got hydrogenated oil and whatever, so I don't want that either. So once the Daiya brand came out with the cream cheese, it tastes good. It's very clean as far as ingredients, and it's affordable. So, all right, everyone. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for being on. Hopefully, I've given you some ideas.
I have a question. Sorry,
Sure.
I started talking when you started talking, but have you ever used cashews to like blend down and make those into like a filling?
Absolutely. I have a cashew cream that is just out of this world. We use it in place of, it's our either fruit dip or like crepe topping, the cashew cream. So it's about a cup of cashews and a can of coconut milk and a little bit of honey, and of course the wild orange or tangerine. Really, really yummy. Everybody loves it. And so good. The cashews too, I try to limit the cashews. I know they're not the healthiest nut either. So I do try to limit my cashew intake. I try to use others, but nothing will work for that like cashews will. So it's definitely my favorite
Right.
food. It's really yummy. If I have to use a white nut, I usually will go to the macadamias. I try to do that instead of cashews if I can, but anyway, yeah,
Okay.
they're yummy.
Yum. Thank you.
All right, good night, everybody.